Hello nerds! Come, join me. It's peaceful here. Everyone is focused. Everyone is relaxed. Everyone is looking forward to the future without a hint of stress. And by everyone, I definitely mean disciplined priests. What? Disciplined priests? Yes, disciplined priests. I mean, so far they rarely had anything to worry about for their class. It's one of the best performing healing specs. Its niche and kit are so good, you pretty much would take a disc priest over any other healer in the game. I know I would take them the instant they applied to my group. Why? They are just good. They keep me alive, they keep my party alive, and they deal damage! Well, healers that do damage is not a new concept. And to say that disc priests have a higher skill cap than other healers might actually be understating it. So I shield that guy, a guy gets atonement, I deal damage to a different guy, the first guy gets healed. Before starting off, I would like to make a disclaimer. Data mine numbers aside, the positives and negatives aspects of the changes are simply my personal opinion. I strongly believe that a viability of a spec can only truly be quantified once enough iterations are made, and most of the times that will come on live servers. And again, this is also my personal opinion. Feel free to tell me how wrong I am in the comment section below. In terms of rating performance, Discipline is in the upper brackets for normal and heroic rating. In Mythical Deer, the spec is actually a top performer, and in Mythic Plus, currently it holds the #1 spot, but a fight is close between Disc and Resto Druid. Part of what makes Discipline so good is the kit. Although discs have decent healing spells, the bulk of their kit revolves around shields and atonement. Let's talk a bit about atonement. Atonement is a passive that you put on an ally when you cast Power Word Shield, Shadow Mend, and Power Word Radiance on them. The buff lasts for 15 seconds and it will heal the affected targets by 55% of the damage you deal to the enemies. Yes, 55% because it's getting a slight nerf in 8.1. Currently on live it's 60%. On the subject of nerfs, our damage, Aura Concerning Smite and Shadow Word Pain is getting a slight nerf as well, from a -9% damage modifier to -16%. The numbers seem more oriented towards bringing Disc in line with other healers, as we always see for the top performing specs in the game, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Power Word Shield is getting a nerf too, but not in numbers. When you will cast Power Word Shield, it will apply a debuff to the target called Weakened Soul. It lasts for 7.5 seconds and prevents a second Power Word Shield for affecting the target. Weakened Soul was a mechanic that was present in the past and it was removed. Now it made its way back into the game. With this change in the game, Rupture will also be modified. You will be able to cast Power Word Shield on your targets regardless if they have Weakened Soul present. The 200% bonus shielding remains unchanged. For the talent side, we are seeing a few nerfs here and there. Nerfs seem to affect talents that have been used more and are outperforming their counterparts on live. Talents such as Schism has its damage reduced from 140% spell power damage to 129%. Although we can see that the top raters are switching a talent here and there, Schism is pretty much used 100% of the time. Another nerf comes to Purge the Wicked. The talent is meant to replace Shadow Word Pain, bringing more damage to the table, and spreading to other enemies when you cast Penance on the target. Its damage is getting reduced from 30% spell power damage to 28.5%. Power Word Solace is also changed. Now it will deal 92% of spell power in damage, down from 100%, and everything else about the talent will remain the same. Evangelism is a talent that extends your active atonements by 6 seconds once you pop it. Although this remains unchanged, its cooldown however will get bumped to 1.5 minutes from 1.3 minutes. With all of these changes, Discipline also gets a buff to the PvP talent called Trinity. Currently on live, it extends atonement by 15 seconds and improves its healing by 12%, but limits it only to 3 targets in total to be affected by it. And also can only be applied by Power Word Shield. In 8.1, the max target limit is removed, and when you have atonement on at least 3 targets, Smite, Penance and Shadow Fiend have their crit chance increased by 25%. This pretty much covers the changes to spells and talents. The nerfs seem to address dominant talents and aspects of the spec that put it in front of other healers. I know nobody likes their spec to be nerfed, but I hardly see these changes affecting its performance in 8.1 as a very good healer. Moving on to Azerite Traits. We are all familiar with the stigma of shit traits that we never pick or are simply weaker than the others. Most specs have one trait that will be removed entirely and replaced with a new trait. What this means is that your Azerite gear that has trait X will be automatically updated next week with the new trait in its place. For Discipline Priest, the trait lost will be Gift of Forgiveness, and it will be replaced with Sudden Revelation. Sudden Revelation will buff Power Word Radiance to have a 50% chance in making your next Holy Nova deal more damage. If the buff applies, Holy Nova will also reduce the cooldown of Radiance by 5 seconds. It's a nice trait that promotes an interaction with spells you might not always cast one after the other. I personally approve of this type of mechanic. Another new trait we are getting is Death Denied, which will be an interior ring trait. After you use Leap of Fate on a target, you give them an Absorb shield. While the shield lasts, Leap of Fate cooldown rate is doubled. I hope they replace as many if not all the generic inner traits with something class specific. This at least will bring some form of class fantasy back. In terms of our existing traits, we have a nerf and a buff. The nerf is to Twist Magic trait that heals the party when the priest dispels. The heal is nerfed by approximately 75%. The buff is coming to Death of Shadows. The trait makes your next Shadow Word Pain or Purge the Wicked ticks to increase Shadow Mend healing up to a maximum of 30 stacks. Once you cast Shadow Mend, the stacks will be consumed in the process. Also, another mention for Azerite gear in 8.1. The last trait, that usually just bumps the item level by 5, will additionally improve the strength of the other traits that you choose, a really nice addition. It will actually make it worthwhile to get the last trait and farm more island expeditions. And this is pretty much it. So far the changes are more or less minor and shouldn't impact the viability of the spec. I would 10 out of 10 recommend picking this up in 8.1. The kit it brings is just too good to pass. But what are your thoughts? Are you also planning on switching specs? What healers will you play in 8.1? Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to enable those notifications if you want to get updates for more stuff to come to WoW in patch 8.1. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Peace!